Hello and welcome to the Gooner Talk. Back again with you guys for another show, for another episode of our Eyes of the Opposition series. It's of course a show in which we get the reactions of an opposition fan, writer, journalist, personality, whatever. And we've got a cracker on today as well. I hope you are well. I hope you're enjoying the rest of your week. I've had a fantastic half term, it's fair to say. I mean, you can't really complain as a teacher when you get 13 weeks off a year, but we do earn it, I swear. But I'm enjoying it, and being able to put out some more content for you each day is obviously even better. But let's jump straight into things. The reason why you are here is for the Eyes of the Opposition show. This week I'm joined by Diyar from the Back of the Nest. Great wording, fantastic name there, for the Crystal Palace podcast. And basically I've had the opportunity rather to throw some questions Diyar's way and get his reaction to how we may stack up against Palace on Sunday afternoon's 4:30 kickoff at the Emirates. So let's get straight into things and ask the first question. Now, when you think of Arsenal and you think of Crystal Palace, there's not really too many ways that you can go without starting to think about Wilfried Zaha. The Ivorian was obviously linked with Arsenal, and actually Arsenal bidded a couple of times for the Ivorian winger's services over the summer. Didn't get their man, eventually ended up with Nicola Pepe. But I'm intrigued to know, from a Palace perspective, what do you make of the saga and how has he sort of recovered from that scenario over the summer into this new season?
Yeah, it wasn't ideal. I mean, we lost Aaron Wan-Bissaka to United earlier on in the summer, so there was no issue with that. There were links already, so we were expecting that to happen. And then the Wilf situation, I mean, it happens every summer. Teams are interested in Zaha. He's got talent. But the fact that he put on a transfer request on the final day of the transfer window, I think that's what spiced out things. And it made it sour, the mood going into the season. I mean, we were just about to kick off the season and we thought Zaha staying. Yes, he did end up staying. But the fact that he went and put in a transfer request, people were questioning his loyalty to the club. And on first day of the season, he actually didn't start against Everton. And in terms of his start to the season, I think it's been pretty slow by our standards. We would have expected him to push on and go to the next level. But he's had one or two games recently where he's been good against Wolves and Norwich. Last game against City, once again, he wasn't really in it. So he hasn't been a great start of the season. But when he has played good, he has been the Wilfried Zaha that we've all seen over the last couple of years. So it just depends on his mood. And against Arsenal, we need a massive performance from him. And hopefully he has a game like he did against Wolves and Norwich.
Now, for me, the biggest surprise so far this season for Crystal Palace hasn't even been the return of Wilfried Zaha, of actually getting minutes and not being in a different colour shirt this season, but it's the Ghanaian Jordan Ayew. I mean, this guy, for me, when he was at Swansea with his brother, Andre Ayew, never really caught my attention, never really sort of set the world on fire. But this season, I mean, he scored 3 goals in the league already and really has turned the screw at Crystal Palace. And as I said already, he's not really a player I associate with any amount of flair or reputation, for instance. But fair play to the guy who's really turned it on. What has been the change, and are you surprised at what's happened?
I don't blame you guys, because even as Palace fans, we were not expecting this from Jordan Ayew as well. He's come into the season and he looks like a completely different man. We signed him on a permanent deal over the summer for a reported fee around £3.5 million, and even then, people were questioning the club, wondering why on earth did we sign Jordan Ayew. But I was actually kind of happy because I saw him as a role player coming off the bench, because over the last season when we did have him on loan, he did bring energy to the game. And I know you have to do more as a striker, but £3.5 million in today's market is basically nothing. But he went to the AFCONs, and I think that's what's changing, because there's no other explanation. He's just got confidence and he's doing what Ben Ticker should be doing for us, which is the funny thing. He's holding up the ball and also he's clinical in front of goal. I mean, I just talked about Wilfried Zaha, but this season he hasn't been Wilfried Zaha, and as crazy as it might sound, it's been Jordan Ayew, and that's one player that Arsenal should look out for. And it should be a good game for him because he enjoys putting defenders under pressure, so I guess he'll be running around. And it's been a weird story so far, and let's see how long he can continue it for. But he's been our man going forward so far this season.
Now, I'm really not a fan of this fixture. Arsenal against Crystal Palace, be it home or away, has always been something in which I really look at as one of those games during the season where I'm thinking, right, this is where we could slip up again. Because I was there at Selhurst Park last season where we drew 2-2. That Xhaka free kick was definitely the highlight of the game, but we just couldn't get a win, couldn't break them down. And then we went and ended up losing at home 3-2. Mesut Ozil scored, Zaha scored that famous Mustafi mistake to let Zaha in. Palace has seemed to always have our number. I mean, 4 from 6 last season is a really great record against a top 6 Premier League side. What is it about Palace and then the Arsenal themselves that means that they seem to always have our number in this fixture?
Well, one obvious area is, of course, Arsenal defence, which everyone knows that's not their strong point. But another thing is that teams like Palace, not only Arsenal, they're looking at teams like Arsenal and United, where they're not in the position that they were in 10 years ago. And there is a decline there. I mean, without sounding rude, Arsenal's not the same force that they were before. So we're going into this game with a mentality that if we do play to our strengths, not that only we could come with a point, but we could win this game. And you saw it this season with Palace against United, for example. Normally, going to Old Trafford, you go there and you hope for the best. But the fact that we went there and we managed to get all 3 points due to how we played, which is sit back and hit teams on the counter. It doesn't sound exciting, but it works. And I think Palace will do the same thing against Arsenal. And that's why I have slight hope going into this game. And I think the players are looking forward to it as well, because we know that if we do play to our strengths, that we could actually get a result at Arsenal. So I think 2 factors is that, yes, Arsenal's defence isn't great, but also this factor of not having much fear. It's not in clubs like Palace, there's other clubs around us that probably have the same mentality now. And of course, it's not good for you guys because you want to be that top force and make sure that teams fear facing Arsenal. But I mean, it's good for the Premier League and it's good for us. But I think that's the one massive factor, the fact that now we're not really scared of facing clubs like Arsenal. And that's a positive for us anyways.
So let's, of course, talk about the actual game itself. Whilst I know that Arsenal have struggled in the past against Crystal Palace, it is a different side. We've got Nicola Pepe coming back into form after 2 fantastic goals against Vitoria. Maybe he can hit the ground running. And maybe we'll see even the likes of Bellerin or Tini get a few more minutes in a first-team Premier League fixture than we have already. And I'm actually interested to know, Diyar, what you think in terms of where this game is going to be won and lost.
One area where I could see this game being won for Palace is our attackers versus your defenders. I think we've got pace with Wilfried Zaha, Jordan Ayew, Jeffrey Schlupp, and of course, as I mentioned before, I think the main weaknesses of Arsenal, looking from the outside, has been your defence. So if we put them under pressure or hit them on a counter attack, I think there's a massive opportunity there for the taking. And one area that I think we might struggle in and potentially it might cost us the game could be our midfield. I mean, overall, our 3 midfielders, Luka Milivojevic, Kouyaté, and also James McArthur, they've been solid so far this season, but I think the weak link there is Luka Milivojevic, and it'll be interesting to see whether he could keep it up for the whole 90 minutes because he hasn't been the player he's been for us before. I'm not too sure what it is. He's played loads of games without really taking a break, so I think it's just a case of that he needs a rest. So if Arsenal decide to overload the midfield area, I think that would be a massive strong point for you guys and potentially win you the game, because once you break down our midfield, I think you've got so many good attackers that you just punish our defence, even though we're good in that area as well. So it just depends on whether Arsenal will target players like Luka Milivojevic in midfield and win that battle.
Now, we can talk about plenty of things leading up to this game, but at the end of these Eyes of the Opposition shows, it is always important to get the view and the prediction ahead of the game at the weekend. Now, I've tempted fate a fair few times. I mean, we asked Ben from the Blades pod what he thought the Sheffield United game was going to be. He reckoned they were going to get something out of that game. He only thought it was going to be a draw, but they ended up going and getting all 3 points, as we remember all too well. So, Diyar, have you got similar confidence? Let me know what you think the lineup might be as well, and ultimately that score prediction too.
We're not expecting many changes from Palace's side of view. One, Roy Hodgson doesn't like changes, and two, even though we lost 2-0 against City, the lineup was perfectly fine. Bearing probably maybe one or two, depends on how fit they are. Obviously, into Gaeta, he's coming back from injury, so expect him to replace Wayne Hennessy in goal if he is fit, and that's a massive bonus for us because he's been tremendous and saved us in so many times this season. Another potential change might be James Tompkins dropping and Martin Kelly coming in for him. So it'll be a typical 4-3-3 formation, and when we're defending, that will change back to 4-5-1 to make sure that we're compact and we don't allow many spaces in midfield. So Joe Ward will start right back, and then it'll be Martin Kelly or James Tompkins alongside Gary Cahill and Van Aanholt, and then in the free midfield will be Luka Milivojevic, James MacArthur, and also Jacob Kouyaté, and the front three will be Jordan Ayew, Wilfried Zaha, and Jeffrey Schlupp. So I think it's a fairly strong lineup to face Arsenal, especially on counter attack. There's lots of pace in that team. And in terms of the score prediction, I'm fairly confident going into this game. I think if we play to our strengths, sit back and hit Arsenal on the counter, Arsenal are there for the taking, in my opinion. And I think we could get a result. I said this before when someone asked me, 2-1 Palace. I think if we do sustain our shape for the whole 90 minutes and find one or two openings, I think we could take opportunities and somehow win this game. I know this will come back to bite me, but I've been fairly confident going into this game, and yeah, let the best team win.
I mean, I can't really say anything too much about the confidence. Arsenal are no longer a team to be feared, and I can see why a fan of almost any team in the league would feel that they can get something from the game against Arsenal. But being the optimist, as always, I'm going to go for personally a 3-1 win at home. I'm hoping the likes of Nicola Pepe, as I've already mentioned, really comes to life now after that confidence boosting performance against Vitoria in midweek. A huge thank you for Diyar from the Back of the Nest podcast, who's helped me out today with the show. If you've enjoyed listening to the show, of course, and you're not for some reason subscribed, please do. You can click that little subscription button. You can also click that little bell, which will turn on notifications for you, and in that sense you'll be able to join in some of our live shows. There's live shows after almost every single game. As I said on yesterday's Raw Reaction show, there isn't this week because I'm actually going to be at the game, so I can't do a live show straight off, but I'm sure there will be later on in the day. And in terms of obviously liking the video, if you have enjoyed it, give it a like. I can't ask for anything more than that. Thank you ever so much for tuning in. Huge thanks to Diyar once again, and we'll see you again very, very soon. And as always, up the Arsenal.